Two friends, Sarah and Kate, who haven't met in a while, run into each other. Sarah, my boyfriend bought me a Mercedes 2 weeks ago. Kate, amazing, Sarah. And yesterday, he bought me a pearl necklace. Kate, amazing, Sarah. And in a month, we are going on a 3-week-long vacation on Hawaii. Amazing, Sarah. Thanks, but enough talking about me. How have you been doing, Kate? Kate. Oh, nothing much, except that recently I decided to take a course on good manners. Sarah. Why? That does sound interesting. And what are they teaching you there? Kate. Well, yesterday they taught us that instead of bullshit, we should always say amazing. A little boy wakes up 3 nights in a row when he hears a thumping sound coming from his parents' room. Finally, one morning he goes to his mom and says, "Mommy, every night I hear you and Daddy making noises, and when I looked in your bedroom, you're bouncing up and down on him." His mom is taken by surprise and says, "Oh, well, I'm bouncing on his stomach because he's fat, and that makes him thin again." And the boy says, "Well, that won't work." His mom says, "Why?" And the boy replies, "Because the lady next door comes by after you leave each day and blows him back up." Little Carl was with his grandma in a supermarket. Little Carl yelled to his grandma, "Granny, I need to pee." Grandma replied, "We are in a public place. Don't say you need to pee. Say something nice. Say you need to sing." Later, when Grandma was sleeping, little Carl went to Grandma's room and woke her. "Granny, I need to sing." Grandma, "It's midnight. You can't sing now." Little Carl, "But I need to sing really bad." Grandma, "Well, okay then. Sing quietly to Granny's ear." A man walks into a doctor's office and tells the receptionist, "I have shingles." She nods, takes his name, address, and insurance info, then tells him, "Have a seat. The nurse will call you shortly." A few minutes later, a nurse's aide comes out and says, "Sir, come with me." As she leads him down the hallway, she asks, "So, what are you here for?" "Shingles," he replies. "Okay, wait here in the exam room." 10 minutes later, the nurse comes in. "What seems to be the problem today?" "Shingles," he repeats. She checks his blood pressure, takes his temperature, notes his height and weight, and says, "Take off all your clothes and put on this gown. The doctor will be in shortly." 20 minutes later, the doctor finally walks in and says, "All right, I hear you've got shingles. Where exactly?" The man looks confused and says, "Out of my truck. Where do you want me to unload them?" "Doc," says John, "I want to be castrated." "What on earth for?" asks the doctor in amazement. "It's something I've been thinking about for a long time and I want to have it done," replies John. "But have you thought it through properly?" asks the doctor. "It's a very serious operation, and once it's done, there's no going back. It will change your life forever." "I'm aware of that, and you're not going to change my mind. Either you book me in to be castrated, or I'll simply go to another doctor." "Well, okay," says the doctor, "but it's against my better judgment." So John has his operation, and the next day he is up and walking very slowly, legs apart, down the hospital corridor with his drip stand. Heading towards him is another patient who is walking exactly the same way. "Hi there," says John. "It looks as if you've just had the same operation as me." "Well," said the patient, "I finally decided after 37 years of life that I would like to be circumcised." John stared at him in horror and screamed, "Shh, that's the word!" A woman is shopping for a pet as a gift for her husband, but she is concerned that the prices that the pet shop are charging are very high. She goes to the clerk and explains her concern. "Well, I have a frog in the back that I can let you have for 50, the clerk says. 50, the woman replies. "That seems terribly expensive for a frog." "Well, this frog is worth it. It's been trained to give blowjobs." The woman is stunned, But because her husband loves this sort of and because she is not particularly fond of it, she decides the frog might be a good investment. She buys the frog, brings it home, presents it to her husband, and explains its special value. The husband is skeptical, but promises he'll give the frog a try that night. The woman goes to sleep happily, knowing she won't be bothered by her husband that night. She is suddenly awakened by a clatter coming from the kitchen. She goes downstairs and finds the frog and her husband pulling out pots and pans and poring over cookbooks. "What are you two doing down here?" she asks. Her husband responds, "If I can teach this frog to cook, you're out of here." This guy gets a job at warehouse and does his amazing work. His superiors are extremely impressed. However, that Monday he calls in and says, "I can't make it in today. I'm sick." The rest of the week he does the work of two men and again impresses his boss. Then on Monday he calls in and says, "I can't make it in today. I'm sick." The next day his boss calls him into the office and has a talk with him. "Listen, you are a great worker," his boss begins, "but you can't keep calling in on Monday. What's going on?" The guy says, "Well, my brother-in-law always goes out drinking on Saturday night. When he comes home, he beats my sister. So then, on Sunday, she calls me, and I go over to comfort her. She is grateful and emotional and starts hugging me. We get close and start kissing, then one thing leads to another, and we have love." The boss says, "What? You have love with your sister? That's sick." The guy says, "I know, that's what I said. I'm sick." A police officer pulled over a minivan that was crawling along the road at just 25 miles per hour, causing quite the backup in midday traffic. Inside was an elderly gentleman behind the wheel and a group of older ladies sitting silently, looking like statues, wide-eyed and clutching their purses for dear life. The officer leaned in and asked, "Sir, is there a reason you're driving so slowly?" The man replied, "Well, officer, I'm just following the speed limit. The sign back there said 25. Trying not to chuckle, the officer shook his head. "Sir, that's not the speed limit. That's the highway number. You're on Route 25. The speed limit here is 65. "Oh," said the old man, eyes wide. "Well, that explains a lot." The officer glanced around the van and noticed the elderly passengers looking extremely tense, stiff as boards and pale as ghosts. He leaned in again. "Is everyone okay? The ladies look a little shaken." The driver scratched his head awkwardly and said, "Well, officer, we just got off Highway 150.
A guy comes home completely drunk one night. He lurches through the door and is met by his scowling wife, who is most definitely not happy. "Where the hell have you been all night?" she demands. "At this fantastic new bar," he says. "The Golden Saloon. Everything there is golden. It's got huge golden doors, a golden floor, the works, hell, even the urinal's gold." The wife still doesn't believe his story, and the next day checks the phone book, finding a place across town called the Golden Saloon. She calls up the place to check her husband's story. "Is this the Golden Saloon?" she asks when the bartender answers the phone. "Yes, it is," bartender answers. "You have huge golden doors?" "Sure do." "You have golden floors?" "Most certainly do." "What about golden urinals?" There's a long pause, then the woman hears the bartender yelling, "Hey, Duke, I think I got a lead on the guy that pissed in your saxophone last night." Two drunk Americans in Temple Bar bragging about the U.S. "We're so damn good, we were the first nation to put a man on the moon." Padraig behind the bar says, "Ah, to be sure, but we Irish are planning to be the first to put a man on the sun." "No way, fella, you'll be burned to a crisp before you get within 1,000,000 miles, said one of the Yanks. Potty winks and says, "Ah, but we're going at night." "Officer, license and registration, please. I think you are drunk." Me, I assure you, I did not drink anything. Officer, okay, let's do a little test. Imagine driving in the dark on a highway at night. When you see two lights in the distance, what is this? Me, a car. Officer, of course, but which one? A Mercedes, an Audi, or a Ford? Me, I have no idea. Officer, so you're drunk? Me, but I didn't drink anything. Officer, okay, one more test. Imagine you drive in the dark on a highway at night, and there is one light coming at you. What is it? Me, a motorcycle. Officer, of course, but which one? A Honda, a Kawasaki, or a Harley? Me, I have no idea. Officer, as I suspected, you're drunk. Then I started to get annoyed and asked a counter question. Me, so, counter question. You're driving in the dark on a highway at night and see a woman on the roadside. She wears a mini skirt, fishnet stockings, high-heeled shoes, and only a bra as a top. What is this? Officer, a prostitute, of course. Me, yes, but which one? Your daughter, your wife, or your mother? Things went downhill from there, and now I have a court date to attend. Two elderly, excited Southern women were sitting together in the front pew of a church listening to a fiery preacher. When this preacher condemned the sin of stealing, these two ladies cried out at the tops of their lungs, "Amen, brother." When the preacher condemned the sin of lust, they yelled again, "Preach it, Reverend." And when the preacher condemned the sin of lying, they jumped to their feet and screamed, "Right on, brother. Tell it like it is." But when the preacher condemned the sin of gossip, the two got very quiet. One turned to the other and said, "He's quit preaching and now he's meddling." Laura's dishwasher quit working, so she called a repairman. Since she had to go to work the next day, she told the repairman, "I'll leave the key under the mat, fix the dishwasher, leave the bill on the counter, and I'll mail you a check. Oh, by the way, don't worry about my bulldog, Bob. He won't bother you. But whatever you do, do not, under any circumstances, talk to my parrot. I repeat, do not talk to my parrot." When the repairman arrived at Laura's apartment the following day, he discovered the biggest, meanest-looking bulldog he has ever seen. But just as she had said, the dog just lay there on the carpet watching the repairman go about his work. The parrot, however, drove him nuts the whole time with his incessant yelling, cursing, and name-calling. Finally, the repairman couldn't contain himself any longer and yelled, "Shut up, you stupid, ugly bird," to which the parrot replied, "Get him, Bob. We hope this gave you a good laugh." Stevie Wonder and Tiger Woods are in a bar. Woods turns to Wonder and says, "How is the singing career going?" Stevie Wonder replies, "Not too bad. How's the golf?" Woods replies, "Not too bad. I've had some problems with my swing, but I think I've got that right now." Stevie Wonder says, "I always find that when my swing goes wrong, I need to stop playing for a while and not think about it. Then the next time I play, it seems to be all right." Tiger Woods says, "You play golf?" Stevie Wonder says, "Oh, yes, I've been playing for years." And Woods says, "But you're blind. How can you play golf if you're blind?" Wonder replies, "I get my caddy to stand in the middle of the fairway and call to me. I listen for the sound of his voice and play the ball towards him. Then when I get to where the ball lands, the caddy moves to the green or farther down the fairway, and again I play the ball towards his voice." "But how do you putt?" asks Woods. "Well," says Stevie, "I get my caddy to lean down in front of the hole and call to me with his head on the ground, and I just play the ball towards his voice." Woods asks, "What's your handicap?" Stevie says, "Well, I'm a scratch golfer." Woods, incredulous, says to Stevie, "We've got to play a round sometime." Wonder replies, "Well, people don't take me seriously, so I only play for money and never play for less than $10,000 a hole." Woods thinks about it and says, "Okay, I'm game for that. When would you like to play?" Stevie says, "Pick a night." Stevie Wonder and Tiger Woods are in a bar. Woods turns to Wonder and says, "How is the singing career going?" Stevie Wonder replies, "Not too bad. How's the golf?" Woods replies, Not too bad. I've had some problems with my swing, but I think I've got that right now. Stevie Wonder says, I always find that when my swing goes wrong, I need to stop playing for a while and not think about it. Then the next time I play, it seems to be all right. Tiger Woods says, you play golf? Stevie Wonder says, oh yes, I've been playing for years. And Woods says, but you're blind. How can you play golf if you're blind? Wonder replies, I get my caddy to stand in the middle of the fairway and call to me. I listen for the sound of his voice and play the ball towards him. Then when I get to where the ball lands, the caddy moves to the green or farther down the fairway, and again I play the ball towards his voice. But how do you putt? Asks Woods. Well, says Stevie, I get my caddy to lean down in front of the hole and call to me with his head on the ground, and I just play the ball towards his voice. Woods asks, what's your handicap? Stevie says, well, I'm a scratch golfer. Woods, incredulous, says to Stevie, we've got to play a round sometime. Wonder replies, well, people don't take me seriously, so I only play for money and never play for less than $10,000 a hole. Woods thinks about it and says, okay, I'm game for that. When would you like to play? Stevie says, pick a night.